Alright, man, peace. So for many of you brothers who may have seen a particular video that I did on Terrell Owens, I stated point blank that I thought he was making a mistake in not attending his own Hall of Fame induction in Canton, Ohio. I think that it would have provided him with the proper venue and outlet for his true feelings in regards to some of the media narratives that have been propagated and perpetuated by them about him. To his own detriment, I think he decided to not attend. He decided, of course, in true Terrell Owens fashion, to have his own Hall of Fame induction in Chattanooga, Tennessee. In the aftermath of that, many of the more prominent members of the liberal sports media knew that they now had the correlation that they needed. That correlation being that Terrell Owens is still the same me-first, emotionally disturbed person that many of his former teammates claimed he was 20 years ago, back when he first started playing professional football. Well, Terrell Owens decided that he was going to make an appearance on the TV show / radio show of one of his biggest detractors, that being Mr. Colin Cowherd. So, of course, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
Welcome back. I said when Baker Mayfield came on this show, I had a lot of respect for him because it wasn't going to be easy. And I'll say it again about T.O. I have my issues with T.O. He never chooses the easy route. He doesn't. He came on this show and we argued. He called my producers and said, I'll come on one show right now today. He's not doing other shows. This is his first interview. We're not the easiest show for him because I have challenged him and disagreed with him, but he always is willing to discuss things. At some level, that's a real thing. T.O. is online. By the way, he's going to be on the cover of Madden 19 Hall of Fame Edition game. It comes out tomorrow, August 10th. All right, let's start with this, T.O. I did not love, because I think you and Randy Moss had very similar careers.
They basically had identical careers. When you put Randy Moss's and T.O.'s statistics side by side, it's almost like they had the same career.
Great talents, all-time stuff, top 3 in everywhere, 15 years, 5 teams, a little bit of baggage. I thought he looked big embracing the Hall of Fame. I didn't like you in Chattanooga. I didn't think it was big enough.
I don't mind Cowherd making that comparison and therefore coming to the conclusion that he came to. I just believe that context is very important. The difference between T.O. and Randy Moss is that Randy Moss has become an engrafted member of the television sports media. So, of course, that has allowed him to assuage some of the consternation that certain members of the media may have had pertaining to him and what his overall image was. Because, once again, he and Terrell Owens had the same career. They both played with 5 teams. They were both known for being problems, particularly in the locker room. Randy Moss and T.O. were both known for being geniuses when it came to the chalkboard and their ability to evaluate plays and defenses and things of that nature. So the main difference is that Randy Moss has been an employee with ESPN for the past 5 years or so, and Terrell Owens basically has been sitting at home working out all day.
How would you respond to that criticism?
You and others, have bought into a perception about me that really doesn't exist, and it really wasn't about you and everybody else.
Well, let me say this about Terrell Owens. I think that certain of the perceptions that he states are being propagated about him do exist. I just think that he has a lack of self-awareness in regards to some of the things that he does that can sometimes alienate him from some of his teammates. And being a top-level wide receivers are known for being loners in the locker room, for being me-first guys. Even Jerry Rice was never known for particularly being a leader in the locker room, but he had the respect of all his teammates because he worked so hard and he was willing to do all the dirty work. Jerry Rice never took one play off, not even one play. There was never any film that people could look at and say Jerry Rice missed that block, or I should say he was not concerned with making that block. Because every player misses blocks, but there was never a play where people said Jerry was not giving proper effort. That's the point I'm making. And once again, just to revisit, the only difference between Randy Moss and T.O. is that Randy Moss has been a member of the mainstream liberal sports media for the last 4 or 5 years, and he's most likely been able to build up a certain amount of equity with some of his compatriots amongst the media, which allowed him to get elected into the NFL Hall of Fame in his first year of eligibility.
As I mentioned, and I think, you being a smart guy, if you've heard my speech or if you read the transcript, it pretty much is spot on. So, to answer that, I mean, I was with really people that really loved me, respect me, and supported me. And again, I spoke to David Baker, and I explained to him I could have set my pride aside and been there in Canton and used that stage, but I felt like the stage that I was on was bigger than Canton's stage, because I couldn't, me personally, I wasn't going to be able to put on a phony face for a lot of those guys that have openly come out and attacked my character.
I understand where you're coming from with that, brother. I know you did not want to put on a phony face or appear in front of people that you knew did not like you and have to shake their hand or give them a hug. But that's just one moment in time. That's a day that you would have had to confront them, and them actually not even be able to say anything back because the microphone would have been yours. So you would have had the upper hand.
And even guys like Michael Irvin, Chris Carter, your Dan Faust that don't know me personally, these guys live in a glass house, but they've been throwing stones.
What T.O. means by that is that Michael Irvin and Chris Carter were a couple of crackheads, and they run in their mouth. But I'm sure that both of them will respond back with, T.O., the point is we were grateful to get into the Hall of Fame, no matter when it was that we were finally allowed in. T.O.'s perspective is, I was better than both you guys.
And so for me, I wasn't going to feel comfortable, neither my family was going to feel comfortable in that environment. So I've even talked to them. So everybody that has asked or made the comments about they missed something in Canton, you can ask them yourself. They didn't miss anything. The only Hall of Famer that they were concerned about was the one that was being introduced and got inducted in Chattanooga.
Well, that's what they had in common with you then, because that clearly was the only Hall of Famer that you were concerned about, brother. Once again, I understand where T.O.'s coming from. I know what it's like to not want to be around fake people, because when you're not an actor, you don't want to be around actors. But T.O. also has to understand that this could have been an opportunity for him to fire off some offensives at his detractors, and that seems to be something that he likes to do. So why not take them up on their offer? It's not like they're going to rip your yellow jacket off of you and then pick up your bust and slam it down on the ground and say, we're going to kick you out of the Hall of Fame for making an offensive induction speech. That's not what they do. So to me, if you're against the process of induction, then you should be against induction, period. If you're going to boycott, boycott all the way. Don't go to Chattanooga and put on a yellow jacket because you know that it's consistent with being inducted into the Hall of Fame, but then state that you're against the process of being inducted into the Hall of Fame. It just seems like you want to have things done your way, which once again lends a lot of credence to the things that are said about you, brother. But oftentimes people who are emotionally or mentally fractured, they suffer from a lack of self-awareness.
By the way, you believe people don't respect you. I would argue that people do respect you. You are considered, along with Jerry Rice and Randy Moss, as the greatest offensive perimeter player ever. There's no lack of respect for...
By the numbers, absolutely.
...for T.O. There is something within you that you don't feel you're respected. I would say you're a dynamic player and personality, and because of that, you are polarizing in America. Couldn't I argue you're overreacting to small criticisms? You're an American iconic personality. This is part of the... You're going to get it ripped occasionally on opinion shows.
Well, let me say this to you, Colin Cowherd. What I think that you're underestimating is the level of hubris that a mega athlete like a Terrell Owens has. And of course, he's going to be offended by many things. And then when you combine that with the fact that he's a health nut, he feels like his mind is so mentally sharp and clear that literally he's faultless in everything. That's why he's pointing the finger at Michael Irvin and Chris Carter and stating, you guys are not even on my level. You can't even compare yourselves to me because you were a couple of crackheads. So who are you to even speak about me? I was able to carry a team to the Super Bowl, Chris Carter. You were even able to get to one, and you had Randy Moss on your team. I was able to get to the Super Bowl, play with a broken leg, and dominate the game. We lost, and it wasn't my fault. That's what Terrell Owens is still thinking. When he looks at a Randy Moss, he tells himself, I was better than Randy Moss. But Randy Moss got into the Hall of Fame on the first try, and they didn't let me in. That's what's floating in T.O.'s head. So Colin Cowherd really is not capable of thinking on the level of a T.O. That's why he's incredulous as to why T.O.'s so quote-unquote sensitive. And then you also add in T.O.'s upbringing, which has added to a lot of emotional instability in his life, even though he won't admit it. But it is what it is.
No, not at all. I mean, I'm very open-minded, and I know that people are entitled to their opinion. But you know what I did with my induction and my ceremonies, I took control of the narrative, and I think you and others alike, you guys didn't like it because I stood up for something that I know what was right in my eyes. For over 15 plus years, your Skip Bayless and those alike, they have basically lied on me as far as my character was concerned. And I wasn't going to keep standing for that. Again, just some months ago, you know, Skip said on his show that I was evaluated, I was mentally evaluated. I was never, I mean, for people to say, for him to go out and say something like that, that's ridiculous. You know as well as I know, mental illness, that's a serious issue. And for him to go on a national air audience to say that, I beg him, show me documentation where I was mentally evaluated. Dude, stuff like that I don't get down with. Those are blatant lies over the.
Let me say this very quickly. Do I believe that Terrell Owens is mentally ill? No, I'm not around him enough to know whether or not he's mentally ill. We know that there have never been any stories about domestic violence. There's never been any issues with him and any level of criminality. We do know, of course, that he has his share of paternity issues, which is normal with many prominent athletes. But I do believe that he has emotional issues just from his upbringing and also some of the things that he's displayed on the football field. And sometimes people attempt to make correlations between mental illness and emotional instability. Those are two separate things.
Over the course of my career, people said I was a bad teammate. Colin, name one person that has come out and said that I was a bad teammate.
Brian Dawkins.
Nobody has said that but the media. And so,
Brian Dawkins said it, brother.
And so for me, that's why I did it the way that I did it, because based on me getting into the Hall of Fame, they went outside of the guidelines, the criteria, and the bylaws to prevent me from getting in. That's what I was more upset about, because my character has been questioned and challenged, and I'm not one to stand for that.
Okay, I'm not going to speak for anybody else. Let me speak for me. I have told you to your face. I'm like, you're a little high maintenance. I mean, you would not. You can't. I mean, by the way, people could say. I mean, Joy could say I'm high maintenance. You wouldn't deny. There are times you've been needy. That you wouldn't. You can't deny that. That's not.
Well, part of being great is being high maintenance because you have high standards for yourself. You're not going to tolerate nonsense.
Not mental illness, but you're needy.
What's needy? Because I know my ability, in which you just alluded to, that I'm a dynamic player, and I know most of the time if I get my hands on the ball, something is going to happen. Yeah, if that's the case, I'm not the most needy person or athlete or receiver that you've ever met. So why am I the most polarizing, needy person?
No, I didn't say.
Well, T.O., to be quite frank with you, brother, I think that the problem is that a lot of these sentiments about you have traveled from team to team. So when you're experiencing the same dynamics on San Francisco, then Philadelphia, then Dallas, so on and so forth, after a while, people are going to start looking at you as the problem.
I didn't say most. I said, by the way, guys that are as talented as Randy Moss generally don't end up on 5 teams. That's what I'm saying. Both of you could be tough to coach.
Another problem with T.O. is that Bill Parcells came out so strongly against him, and Bill Parcells was someone who coached Lawrence Taylor. So when we look at T.O. in juxtaposition to LT, we have to say to ourselves, damn, if Bill Parcells couldn't handle Terrell Owens, but he loved LT, what does that say about Terrell Owens? That's to those of us who may view it from a 2-dimensional perspective. Now, from a 3-dimensional perspective, maybe Bill Parcells loved Lawrence Taylor more than Terrell Owens because Lawrence Taylor was easier to control than Terrell Owens, despite the fact that he was drug-addled.
You're doing sit-ups and drives. You could be tough on guys. I think you're being too sensitive to that.
No, okay. So let's just talk about the 5 teams, and that rhetoric and that narrative is that 5 teams wanted to get rid of me. Let's start with San Francisco. Why do you feel like they wanted to get rid of me? they did get rid of me. If I was such an issue before the error by my agent, not submitting the papers to I had a 5-year, 7-year deal. In order for that to be voided, he had to put that paperwork in. If it wasn't for that, it wouldn't have been an issue. So if I was such a bad teammate, then why didn't the 49ers get rid of me before that error happened?
No, again, you're falling into bad teammate. Bad teammate are your words. My thing is, sometimes you're high maintenance. Sometimes
but that's been the narrative.
And beyond that, Colin Cowherd, Terrell Owens is on your show because of what you stated about him looking small at his Hall of Fame induction, his own self-created Hall of Fame induction. So that's truly why he's upset with you. I don't think that he really cares about a lot of the other things, at least not in regards to you, because he keeps talking about Skip Bayless. I don't think that Terrell Owens looks at this person here, Colin Cowherd, as someone who's been a main antagonist for him. He's just someone acting as a proxy. He represents a lot of what Terrell Owens perceives to be the oppressive forces that have tried to hold him down or hold him back in his life.
Well, you wouldn't be on five. You wouldn't be on 5 teams if you didn't come with a little maintenance, right? You're too good. You're too talented to bounce around.
No, the first time I left San Francisco, it had to do with an error from my agent. If, like I just said, are you not listening to me?
Yes, but you played on 4 other teams.
And so has a lot of other superstars. Like Deion Sanders, he played on 5 teams. So
and by the way, he was high. And by the way, Deion, I love. He was needy and high maintenance.
Yes, he was.
So Shaq played on multiple teams.
Yes, Shannon had a massive personality. Oh, who did he say? Oh, you said Shaq. By the way, Shaq, needy. I love him. High maintenance. What's wrong with that?
So guess what? I'm in good company then.
I got right. I'm not saying you're not. But I'm saying, just own it. Just be like, okay, I can be a little needy. Just own it. It's okay.
It's not up to Terrell Owens, nor does it behoove him to own a word or a term that you want him to own just to perpetuate your own narrative about him. For him to accept, okay, I'm quote-unquote needy. I think that when he hears that word, or whatever thing to use that word, it would be in conjunction with weakness. And I don't think that he would want to consider himself weak by calling himself needy.
You're getting sensitive. I don't call you a bad human. I've never called you a bad human.
Well, I don't have to agree with your term needy. I don't look at it as needy. That's your term you're using. You're mad because I'm not agreeing with your term.
I agree.
Okay, let me do this. I got a minute and a half left. You're a gold jacket guy. I don't want to see Denzel Washington do a B movie. You're a gold jacket guy.
Well, I have news for you. Denzel has done a lot of B movies.
Stop with the CFL. You're above the CFL. You're a mile above. You're in a different galaxy than the CFL. A minute left. What are you doing working out for the CFL?
I can do what I want to do. You guys are mad because you guys can't control me.
I agree.
That's all that matters. If I want to go play sandlock or flag football, it's no different than guys going and playing in the flag football league.
Absolutely. Beyond that, Terrell, I think a lot of them are upset that you still have the physique that you have at 40-something years old. They're really just jealous that you could even try out for a team at 44 years old. You're not even supposed to be able to do that.
There's no difference.
Yeah, I don't like that either. I don't like world-class guys going playing sandlot football. You're a gold jacket guy.
It doesn't matter. The gold jacket doesn't make me. The Hall of Fame doesn't make me. I was gonna be who I am without the Hall of Fame, regardless.
Are you willing to admit on this show you're high maintenance? I think you admitted it.
Oh yeah, I probably am a little high maintenance.
See, there we go. We've had.
I could be a little high maintenance, but that's not a bad thing.
I agree, that's not a bad thing. And once again, the reason why Terrell will not agree to that term needy is because the implication behind that is weakness. There's a difference between being needy and being high maintenance.
Sometimes. Okay, let me promote your thing. T.O.'s on the cover of Madden 19 Hall of Fame edition. It comes out tomorrow, August 10th. Second all-time receiving yards. Third all-time receiving touchdown. 6 times Pro Bowler. And a legend.
certainly should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer.
A little needy, but a legend, and he came on the show. I'm showing the cover right now. T.O., you never duck our show. You know I appreciate that, and I'm telling the public that, because you don't duck us, and we may disagree, but I'll always invite you on the couch, and thank you.
Let me say this also, as an aside, as a digression per se. That last name Owens is another Welsh last name. I did a video a very long time ago called Welsh Names Equal Black Names. I'll be revisiting that topic somewhere down the line in regards to the quote-unquote black rulership in Europe and how many so-called black people in America today are descendants of the original black Europeans that came over to the Americas during the quote-unquote age of discovery, and of course mixed in with a lot of the aboriginal blacks that were already here, as well as the so-called blacks who were brought here from the west coast of Africa. But once again, that last name Owens, that's a Welsh last name. Last names like Gwynn and Griffey, Williams, Jones, all those are Welsh last names.
Anytime.
All right, there you go.
But anyway, that's basically it on that. Good for the brother, Terrell Owens. Hopefully one day he'll find what he seems to be missing in his life. That's just my own personal view of it in regards to Terrell Owens. He seems to be missing a little something in his life. But anyway, peace.